Travel Talks. Today I'm delighted to introduce you to Karen Slater. She is the CEO of Inspire Me Travel, and to Frederic Serviere, who is our OTT French Country Manager and knows everything French. So Karen, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company.
Hi, Julia. Yeah, my name is Karen Slater. I'm the CEO of Inspire Me Travel, which is based at Stansted Airport and also down in the south of France. I've worked in tourism for over 35 years now, mainly started off as a holiday rep, and worked in some incredible places, ranging from Switzerland to the Maldives. I worked on a cruise ship for a couple of years as a short excursion manager. And so all of the experiences that I've had have been overseas. And this is what enabled me to start up Inspire Me Travel, because Inspire Me Travel is an experiential tour operator. So everything that we do is based on experiences overseas. Brilliant. So we've categorized them. So for example, there's wine, there's gastronomy, there's art, jazz, opera, exhilaration, which is things like supercars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, helicopters, all different things like that. So we categorize it, and the categories then spread over various destinations. But it's because of all my overseas experience working in the holiday industry that I was unable to create such a range of experiences, because most of them I've actually experienced myself. So
wonderful. And most of those experiences are for France and I believe for Italy.
Our two biggest destinations, yep. France and Italy, but we do all over Europe and Mediterranean. Not so much long haul, although we are branching into that very soon, because we should be getting our very own APTA license any week now. We've been third partying with APTA licenses, but we're getting our very own one. So that enables us to open up into various new markets.
Excellent. That's very, very exciting. And so how is business at the moment?
Well, for the last 2 years, obviously, it's been really, really difficult. And we've spent the whole time collaborating, creating new partnerships, etc. And then suddenly, literally, I would say 2 days after the British government lifted the restrictions of the testing coming back, particularly the ones coming back into the UK, it has just boomed. It's gone wow. Absolutely crazy. I don't think I've ever worked this hard, doing 7 days a week. It's constant.
Wow.
And all of our lovely clients who sadly couldn't travel in the last few years have now literally come back and said, right, let's go, let's get it booked, we want to go. And in fact, I say the bizarre thing, but the very welcoming point is that the C word, the COVID word, doesn't seem to come into conversation anymore.
How interesting.
Yeah.
So what are customers asking you now that's coming up?
A lot of them, they already had the trip booked, so they're repeating what they originally had booked. But again, there are a lot more requests for long haul, which I said we don't actually organise our own long haul, but we have access to other tour operators, so we do help our clients with that. So it's very much at the minute it seems very sort of high-end breaks as well. I mean, so the story goes that most people, because they haven't been able to travel for 2 years, have actually managed to keep their travel money aside and have now got more available dispensable cash. So it seems to be the more high-end trips that we're booking.
Excellent. Very, very good. And so, Frederic, the French market, what can you tell us is going on in France at the moment?
Well, I think there's some positive signs, and basically, well, the French economy is doing fairly well. As you may be aware, it recorded 7% growth in 2021. That's partly because of the fact that companies, including companies in the travel industry, well, I hope, were supported. They got financial support that they needed. So in terms of the main components of the growth are not exports so much, the way Germany relies heavily on exports. So if something goes wrong in China, suddenly the German economy goes down. It's all about consumer spending in France. There's a big, well, obviously there's a high standard of living, but people have money to spend. There aren't any restrictions. There's no curfew. Things are open late. You may recall, Julia, when I went to Paris in October, end November, October to attend the Top Reza show. It was, I was surprised how, and that was before Omicron, of course, but everything was open, bars, cafes. Karen's experience may be similar, but things are open really late. Shops in big cities are open late, so there's more time and opportunities to spend, and therefore people are spending. And so the economy itself within France is doing quite well. And of course, we've got an election coming up in April, and the first round of presidential election. But I think overall, nothing is perfect. But overall, I think the economics of not increasing taxes and having a high welfare state and supporting businesses has kind of worked up until now. It did help the economy. As far as the COVID is concerned, maybe we should mention the name anymore. It's not a fashionable word anymore. What we found is that, yes, I think increasingly people they're not ignoring it, but they're living with it. They're accepting that it's like flu, it's like a bad cold. It's not overwhelming the health service or the equivalent of the NHS in France. We've still got lots of issues in overseas territories. So overseas France is slightly different. They've got higher cases. They've still got a curfew, for example, in Guadeloupe. So the curfew is that by 8 p.m. everything is shut. That's because they've still got much higher cases and far less people vaccinated than they have in mainland France, or France métropolitaine as we call it, which is the France of Europe, with Corsica. So the overseas territory is a little bit behind. However, I've just been following what was happening in terms of restrictions. Now, the French government, so the French tourism minister, has announced that, it was yesterday, that they're also considering lifting restrictions in terms of allowing non-EU citizens, that's the Brits, to... We have to remember now.
We keep forgetting, yeah.
The non-EU citizens will be able to, and that's, they haven't given us an exact date, but they say it'll be possibly next week. They won't need a test anymore to enter France. So whereas they did need one up until now, I think it's 48 hours or 24 hours, I can't remember. So that was a bit of a deterrent, although people did book them, probably they used them and they were fine with it. But they're going to lift that as long as the visitors are fully vaccinated and they can show it, obviously. And as far as overseas France is concerned, it's a bit further down the line in terms of not having tests to enter Guadeloupe or Martinique. The only thing they're talking about down there is to lift some of the restrictions, that is the curfew, and perhaps extend it until 10 or 11 p.m. rather than 8 p.m. So life is getting back to normal, but they're probably about a month behind mainland France in terms of lifting the restrictions. What I want to ask you, Karen, is your customers, if they who booked holidays to south of France or Italy, or let's say France, we talk about the French market, what's the reaction when they know that now the test, if they're traveling after the tests are no longer required, do they get a refund for the test? Do they ask about that? Do they want to pay them? What's their view on that?
So I think that most people now are what I'm finding at the minute is that they are fully aware of how quickly everything's changing. So they aren't booking their tests until last minute.
Until last minute, that makes sense.
Yeah, so at the minute, that's fine. Before Christmas, that was a big problem because they seemed to, all of a sudden, they had a very limited amount of tests. And it was quite hard to get a test booked within the time frame that you had to. But yeah, there have been, but we don't book the tests for people. And I know that with companies such as Collinson, you can actually pay a little bit extra to get your money back if you do cancel, that kind of insurance against it, which is always a good idea. But yeah, I heard the good news yesterday that the French are going to get rid of the testing altogether within the next 2 weeks. Yeah, and even better news that they are thinking of stopping the passes for the restaurants and everything. So because that has been another thing that you've always got to be aware of, haven't you, Frederic? That when you go to restaurants and bars, you've always got to show your vax. But now, to counter that, they've got the rule, haven't they, that you have to be boosted if your second jab is less than 4 months, within 4 months frame.
That's
I think
right.
it's 9 months to get into the country and 4 months to get into bars and restaurants. But then if they get rid of the pass, then that all goes out the window anyway.
That would be amazing, because that's been quite. I felt like I was surprised when I went there in October. Pass was fairly new then, and I downloaded my I put my NHS vaccination certificate into the Tous Anti-Covid app.
Yeah.
It's very easy. Then they just scan it, and I was surprised how easy it was, in that sense that people got used to it, and it's a very quick thing. When I went back to Paris in November, and everyone was checking every restaurant, not train stations, or not all shops, but restaurants and bars, etc., theatres, cinemas. When I went back in November, they were still checking, but not so much. Got used to it. They weren't that interested anymore.
Yes, I found that recently.
You can come in, so it was applied, but not the way it was in October. But it's been a bit of a worry for I've got some British friends who don't have a mobile phone, for example. They said, okay, how do I then get by when I go to France? Because do I show this form, but it's not an anti-COVID thing, proof in a way? Will they accept that form in the restaurant? Can they scan it? So they were a bit concerned about that. And but I think overall they've accepted the NHS app. I think they've been fairly okay with that. So I don't think, unless you say otherwise, that the British travellers have encountered a huge amount of problems with that.
No, I think it's, as long as there's a QR code or you have the documentation, it's fine. Yeah.
But lifting it will be amazing for the French as well, because obviously they'll be really grumpy at that.
Yes.
But the Italians are much tougher. I was surprised. The Italians, you have to show your work.
Yeah, so the Italians are, and in Italy, you have to wear a particular type of mask. You have to have the FFP2 mask, which are more like the white cone ones. You can't go into the Vatican, for example, or to the opera, the museums, etc., unless you're wearing this particular mask. So you can actually buy them at the entrance to these museums and things. Right. So
incredibly tough. Surprising for Italy how organised and strict they've been, much more than any other country in Europe, perhaps, apart from Austria, where you have to be vaccinated. It's illegal if you're not. Haven't done that. So overall, Karen, would you say? I mean, I feel that both as far as Britain and France is concerned, but I feel quite positive about 2022. The way things, unless another virus hits us, unless the Omicron develops into something else, you never know. But if it continues that way, I feel like 2022 looks like a bumper year, really, in terms of travel.
Yeah, definitely. Different attitude towards travel. There's a huge demand, and we are seeing. It's just we can't keep on top of it. The demands are coming in so much.
It's such good news, and really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, because I know things are really, really busy. We are keeping up to date with as many changes as possible through our partners by doing dare I say the COVID word again, a COVID newsletter. So as COVID news does come in, but at least the COVID news is going the other way now. Before it was the acute one was planes landing and grounding and ships standing still. Whereas at least our COVID news is no more needing that particular mask, and no more needing entry to using this and so on. So that's all good. And just so finally, Karen, I hear that you can't stop being an entrepreneur. You've got yet more things to set up and get going, and you've got a new venture starting as well.
We decided that because we have quite a lot of business down in France, and the clients that we have in France are more high-end clients. So they're the yacht charters and the hotels, some of the big hotels on the Riviera. And we decided that it would be more beneficial for us to create probably a more high-end luxury version of Inspire Me Travel with a concierge section to it. So we've created Voyage d'Exception, which is our new company, which will be registered in France. The website is in French and English, And yet the plan is to roll that out within Europe. Fortunately, I'm a French resident now, so which did just before Brexit, thank goodness, because I now have the freedom to travel, so I can run the business down there with ease. But I have to say, like at the moment, looking out of my office at Stansted Airport, it's can't see the sun because it isn't in the sky. But when I'm down in the south of France, 90% of the time the sun shines and it just uplifts your spirits. And I have to say, it's probably the best move I have ever made is getting set up down there. And it's a great place to work and to just feel that it's one of those places that you don't have to have a lot of money. People think that, oh, French Riviera, it's very expensive. It's really not. It's amazing how when you've got nature around you, you've got the sea, you've got the sun, you don't actually need much more. You don't need to spend a lot of money, and so that's one of the things that we promote. Even a trip to Monaco, I went there with my friends for their 50th birthday. Didn't cost us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds at all. I think with our flights, our hotel and our transfer for 3 nights, it worked out about £320 each. Wow. So it's complete misconception, really.
It's interesting that you say that, because I've experienced that myself. I've been to the French Riviera quite a few times, mostly on holiday, just to, as you say, there's something about it which is quite magical. It's not just the sun. Mallorca has the sun, the Canary Islands have the sun. It's slightly different. It's the culture, it's the architecture, it's the mountain just behind it. There's something magical about it. And what I found is, yes, they can be very expensive hotels and restaurants in Cannes, on La Croisette, on the Promenade des Anglais, or if you want a super expensive hotel in Monaco. But actually, staying in Nice, for example, which is a big city, there's a lot of restaurants of very good value. There's a lot of hotels they're not that expensive. You don't have to spend a huge amount of money. You can take a train if you don't have a car, and the trains go everywhere along the Riviera. For a few euros, you can go to Monaco. And what I liked about it as well, some of my friends have got businesses down there who are based in Nice, for example, is that it's quite business friendly nowadays. I think taxes are lower than they used to be. It started under Hollande, actually, but then Macron obviously continued that approach. So it's quite business friendly. Taxes are not going up, and it's well connected. So if you want from Nice, you can go anywhere in Europe. And there's lots of high tech companies there, lots of startups. So it's quite a good environment for businesses as well, I think. I don't know if that's your experience, Karen.
Definitely. Sounds wonderful. So just to finish then, so if people have high-end clients that are looking for really personalised service and to be inspired, Inspire Me Travel, although I know your new venture is called, what was it called? Voyage d'Exception?
Voyage d'Exception. Yeah, same thing for inspirational experiences.
Yeah, so you could probably tailor, I imagine, at that sort of level, all kinds of experiences for those with a budget of, what would you say would be their budget for the Voyage d'Exception?
Voyage d'Exception, probably for a short break, you would still be we'd be looking around 5,000 euros for a short break, because it would be the higher end hotels, etc. Gotcha. But for Inspire Me Travel, it's kind of a real mix. So in Inspire Me Travel, you could have a weekend away for £300 per person, or you could have a weekend away for £10,000 per person. It really depends on, but everything we do is tailor-made to suit the budget and the aspirations of our client.
And incentive travel as well, I understand you do for corporates, so you can bring staff incentives together, can't you? Which is exciting.
That's our biggest, our newest venture with working with corporates. We've just joined ITM, and we do sort of team building, sales incentive, corporate hospitality, and probably one of the biggest revenue streams for us is the charities and auctions. So you'll go to a charity dinner and you'll be able to bid on 3 nights in Verona with tickets to the opera. That's something that we provide. And I'm finding within that world, the auction companies are always looking for something a little bit different now.
Yeah.
So that's where we come in. So that's a really good revenue stream for us.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, thank you so much to both of you actually for taking the time to come on to the Online Travel Talks podcast. Really pleased to have you here, and even better, it's so great finally to hear that sales are moving, and especially that the forecast, is looking positive. I mean, obviously things can change. We know that. We probably need a good sort of see of about 6 months where we don't get many changes or any changes, and we're all feeling more and more confident. But I think the green shoots of recovery feel like they're there. So it's wonderful to talk to you today to hear that, sales really have picked up, and you're feeling really optimistic about the future. Certainly enough to set up yet another business to cater for that high-end demand that's coming through now as well. Yes, thank you, Frederic, too, for joining the call and letting us know everything French and what's going on from there. And to all of you who's watching today, have a great day, great rest of the day, and I hope you join us for another podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.